My final guest for this afternoon is from the UK's largest cloud computing consultancy company, Astadia, is David Woodhead. We're proud to have them as our client. And for one, I'm looking forward to hearing to David's testimony. Where are you, David? Please welcome David Woodhead to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mark asked me to come up here and talk a bit about the way that we live the dream, if you like, because Astadia is a cloud computing consulting organization. We do management consulting, we do systems integration work, and everything we do involves cloud computing. And many of the concepts, many of the technologies that you've been hearing about this morning. So, of course, we eat our own dog food. And he said, so, come up and talk about that. And I thought, well, that's going to take about 5 minutes, because actually it's very simple. I think many of the points about culture and so on and so forth, absolutely well made, and really to be taken on board. But the principles are really simple. So I then started thinking around the whole concept and the whole issue. Thought, well, actually there are a number of other things, a number of other trends which are taking place within this marketplace that are actually driving real fundamental changes in the way that businesses operate. So let's have a look at some of those and try and bring those together to build up more of a multi-layered picture. Hence the reason why the slide actually says random musings, because actually when I started putting this together, that's kind of how it felt. But hopefully you'll bear with me and we'll get to somewhere that looks like a cohesive endpoint. That one. Something about me. I have been working in the sales performance and management consulting area for 22 years or thereabouts, 15 years or so, heavily involved, particularly in CRM consultancy. The last 8 years in the cloud computing arena, I joined Astadia to set up our UK operation about 5 years ago, and was the first employee in Astadia UK as a consequence. I also have the greatest accolade, the thing I'm proudest of, which is the number 17, which is the number of syllables in my job title. I don't know if you counted when you saw it on the screen at the front there, but so I win the game of top trumps every time we have a management meeting. I was involved in a number of projects in my early career with notably Sony Ericsson, about 6 months after the merger. They both came to that with something like 5 or 6 point market share. 6 months later, collectively, they had about 5 or 6 point market share. And we started over a period of 2 years or so to transform the way that sales and marketing operation worked with their product organization to bring some really cool new products to the market. Some of you will remember the P800, one of the first smartphones, and start to redevelop their presence in the mobile market. Also worked a lot with HP, with a fascinating project with Baker Atlas, which is an oil field services company based out of Houston. And I ended up going and talking about sales methodology to engineers who'd grown up, and I went down to Buenos Aires, spent time working with the Latin America team, and they were all engineers that were used to sitting in a cabin somewhere in Tierra del Fuego with the wind blowing them off the side of the rock. And we were talking about sales methodology. So they had some very interesting ideas about what was normal. So that's a bit of background. The next thing is really, well, so what is Astadia? How do we describe the organization? And we decided that we needed to play the TLA game. So this is it. We are E2E, L2C, ITC, which loosely translated means we deal with an end-to-end, left-to-right business process about lead to cash, so enabling the front and middle office functions of our customers, and we do all of that in the cloud. And there you'll also see some of the technology partners that we work with. The most mature, the most significant of those for us is Salesforce.com. If there's anybody left over from Microsoft here, then close your ears now. And Eloqua, that's a marketing tool. InContact is a virtual contact center that will stand up your Cisco switch in the cloud, so you can distribute calls out to hundreds of agents working from home. Zora, which is a billing application. Good Data is a BI stack. Ping is a security tool, Exactly manages compensation, and Informatica is an integration platform that gives us a master data management model. So hopefully some of those concepts mean something to some of you. And what you'll see as we talk through this is that what we're doing is really concentrating on the business application layer. So a lot of what we've heard about so far has been talking about the individual and individual office productivity. And Astadia really operates at the next level, which is how do you take all those individuals, all that productivity, and drive all of that through the processes and through a set of business applications that drive those end-to-end business processes that your business operates with, that your organization operates with. We operate mainly with cross-industry, but we have particular strengths in telco and media, and are pleased to list Vodafone as one of our largest UK customers. So this is a kind of quick history lesson. We saw the history lesson, it's still down here on the floor, about the mobile phones. This is rather less compelling way of presenting it, but this is the story of cloud computing. So if you go back 20 years or so, everything was on the mainframe. There were big iron, large data centers. I started my career working with a mainframe time-sharing bureau. We were doing finite stress analysis, and jobs used to take days to run, literally, and the printout would end up being a stack of paper that deep. That was computing in 19 whatever. So then we moved through the client server, of course, the advent of the desktop PC. Microsoft emerged, and so on and so forth. And large enterprise applications like SAP and Siebel came to the fore. And what we've now moved on to is the next generation, which in many regards is a bit of a reversion, because it's a reversion to the data center. It's a reversion to centralized computing, where you're using a concept of multi-tenancy. Hopefully that will mean something to some of you, but a concept of multi-tenancy to allow many organizations to take advantage of one massive infrastructure and gain the benefit of shared cost, shared amortization of that cost, but still with the benefits of immense security and scalability. And that's a tremendous benefit, particularly for small to medium enterprises that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford an infrastructure of that size or that security. So from a services perspective, what went alongside this, and this is where it's really germane to us, is version 1 of the systems integrator was really the person that was also making the hardware. Version 2 of the systems integrator came along. That was in the client server world and then the world of web apps. And then version 3, which is really the marketplace that we're in, SI3, is a completely different paradigm in terms of delivering services, because the technology now is so sophisticated that what you need to do, the amount of effort that you need to provide in order to create and deliver a business application is substantially less. So as I said, I talked about HP. I remember a project where we were working on what was gloriously called the Worldwide Selling Effectiveness Program, which was designed to make 8,000 salespeople all the way around the globe deliver 20% more productivity. One of the components of that was an implementation of Siebel. And they had, at one point, something like 250 consultants. Every time you opened a cupboard door in Houston, in their HQ there, you'd find that there was somebody trying to program this thing. And at the end of 2 years, they still couldn't get a global sales forecast rolled up out of it. Okay? So that was the reality to a large extent of the SI 2.0 world. What we're faced with now is a completely different world. And you look at this is Gartner data on the growth of the cloud computing services market. It's growing a lot, it's growing at a fantastic rate. That's really the story. You don't need to read the detail, it's a growing market. Why is it a growing market? It's a growing market because Great, from a systems integrator, instead of that taking me 3 months, now it's taking me an hour and a half. That's our service model out the window. So you've got to reinvent yourself. And that's the reason why we are focused very much more on business outcomes, on business transformations, and on how we help our customers with their strategy, and then using these tools to be able to very quickly deliver on that strategy and deliver tools that allow them to take best-of-breed applications and glue them together, provide a really easy-to-use platform. So just up there, I put up there something I actually did myself, which was to integrate a SharePoint portal into a Salesforce.com tenant. Very simple integration, but it just pulls up SharePoint as a web page within Salesforce. So you can take a best-of-breed approach, you can pull stuff out of different applications through a common API and slot them together. And that means that instead of training people on 5 or 6 applications, you need to train them on one. They get all of their data in one place, in a common user interface. That reduces the training load, it reduces the change management load, and it allows you to concentrate on business efficiency and business process effectiveness rather than the how do I use the tool to do my job. The other thing, by the way, is also a Salesforce.com on a Nokia Lumia 800, just in the browser. So, of course, in parallel with that shift in computing from the mainframe through client server to the cloud, what we've also seen is a tremendous associated change in the interface, in the way that we actually interact with this technology. From blue screen through the graphical user interface now to swipe and touch and so on and so forth. And that's emerging at a tremendous rate. The proliferation of mobile devices, the variety of applications that are now being delivered on mobile devices is extraordinary. And this is an example of an app. It's an in-store clienteling app running on an iPad for Neiman Marcus, which we built for them in about 2 months and is now being used on the shop floor. And that is based on Salesforce, and it allows them to bring their social feed about their high network, their high value customers, pull that together with the online shopping that those customers are doing, so when they're engaged in store, you've got a common view, a single view of what they're actually interested in and what level of business you're doing with them. So there's a whole paradigm shift going on there, but I just want to kind of test something out here. I take it everybody in the room probably has one of these with them. Yeah? Does anybody not have a mobile device with them? No? Okay, that's good. How many people in the room have 2 mobile devices with them? Yeah, quite a few. That's good. Let's see. Got a RIM device there. Who's got 3 mobile devices with them? Yeah, you're in the business, so I'd be surprised. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. Anybody with 4 mobile devices? Got Droid over there? No? Got the old Lumia in here. Nice device. What about 6? What about the daddy of them all? It's a bit difficult to find a pocket for these. But the iPad. How many of you got an iPad? I'm glad I've got that out of there, I have to say. It's very uncomfortable. So this device in particular, I mean, we thought the growth of the mobile phone and the smartphone in particular was extraordinary, but this device is something else. You look at that. So when you ask people how long the iPad's been around, they'd probably say 2 or 3 years. It's actually not true. It's been around now for 6.5 quarters, just over 18 months. You can see the red there, which is the growth of the iPhone, and you can see the growth of the iPad in blue. Extraordinary growth, extraordinary explosion in that marketplace. That device did not exist. That concept did not exist 18 months ago.